Hello viewers, good day. This is AAU Online News TV, and here we are live today for another edition. You will recall a few days back we had an exclusive interview with the AASU chairman AAU chapter in the person of Dr. Siri. And today we are heard from the side of the union concerning the issues on ground which you all are familiar with. As an unbiased media house, we decided to come back to the management, to hear the side of the management concerning the issue on ground. So today with us, we have the acting Vice Chancellor of Abu University in the person of Professor Asoman Soni Adagoyin, if I get that right. Then we have the acting Deputy Vice Chancellor Admin in the person of Professor Theophilus Abueda. Is joining us here in the studio, and also we have the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics in the person of Professor Masha Azeke. With us also we have the acting registrar in the person of Mr. Abus Odiasele. So guys, we'll be asking them questions concerning the issues. Like I've said before, we all are familiar with the situation on campus, with the management and the AASU issues, what have been happening, bulletins from both the management and both the AASU union. So it's keeping students confused on the situations. We have heard from the AASU chapter, so today we are here with the management of Abu University. Sir, first of all, my first question for you is, what is happening in campus? What was the situation in campus? When I mean the situation in terms of ASU strike and the management himself.
Thank you very much, Sussex, and your crew for considering it very important that you hear from management and actually get a clear and true picture of what is happening. AAU is on course as a university, and we have resumed for the 2020-2021 academic session, and we are not going back on that resumption. We have invited students to come back for academic activity, and we've also come out with a calendar of activities for them to be engaged. That is the much that can be said about what is happening. We do know that quite a number of responses have greeted our announcement of resumption for academic activities since 26th of May. And we see these things as normal, but the most important thing is that the university management, backed by Senate and acting on behalf of Senate, has reopened the university, and there's no going back on that. Yes. Okay.
So concerning this resumption we just said about the academic staff union of the university, that's the lecturers, they are insisted that they will not lecture students. And students are confused. Students saw the academic calendar, the resumption bulletin that came out from the management. Then they also saw a bulletin from their lecturers, the union, that they will not lecture, that students should not resume. So the students are now confused, like, if the management said we should resume and the lecturers said they will not lecture us, so what should we do in this condition?
Well, it's a very, very interesting question, and let me begin by noting that before we go to this situation, we have done all we can to engage our colleagues who are members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities. The point that we are having that we don't seem to enjoy listening to is the fact that each time they don't seem to be aware that a state university has its own problems. All what we are hearing is we are on a national strike. Well, it's good to be on a national strike, and I think we have all actually worked with them to that effect for 3 months. You'll recall that when the strike started on February 14th, we didn't quarrel with it at all. We just felt, well, it's a national strike, and then it got to a point where we felt, oh, our students can be on campus, and we sent them home. in deference to the strike. But where things began to actually change was when we looked at the fact that these students have been home for 3 months. And it didn't look like there was going to be any let by our unions to come back to academic activity. And then instead we're hearing about a rollover strike for another 3 months. You agree with me that students who were supposed to finish final year in June 2021 are still at this time battling how to finish in 2022. And we are still operating 2020-2021 calendar in 2022 when universities elsewhere are already operating the 2021-2022 calendar. We thought that this was not good. And then we engaged our unions further, and we found that the issues that they were canvassing had to do with a national strike. And then, of course, they complained about the local issues, which we met anyway as management, and which we have been trying to redress. So we promised that, well, we're going to actually begin to address the local issues. And we went headlong to begin to look for funds to see how we can pay 2 months' salary, which we did, and we paid gross. In the history of this university since 2020, this management is the first management to pay gross. And we've been here for 3 months, and we've paid 3 months' salaries. So we thought that that was enough goodwill that we were showing for our colleagues to now begin to look inwards and look at the fact that they have a university that they must not and should not allow to die. But what we found instead is agitation. Oh, we are on national strike. We are on national strike. We thought, well, we had had enough, and the students' pressure was there. They want to have their lives fulfilled, their dreams, their academic dreams realized, like we all did. Because if we didn't do that, we will even become lecturers, we will become professors. So after the last-ditch approach at trying to engage our colleagues, kind of met with that insistence that we're on a national strike, and of course we know that everybody in the society got worried, we had to reopen the university. And now specifically to your question of, we have called the students back. I'll give you a background on why we call them back. We call them back so that they can go on with their academic life. They can move on with all that they have committed themselves to moving on to. Lecturers, we lecturers cannot hold them to ransom. So now that we have called them, we expect, like I told you, that AASU would say, well, they are not ready to teach. They are not part of the whole thing. Yes, AASU can never be the one that will call students back anyway. If they tell you they are on national strike, you're not going to expect them to begin to say, yes, they are part of it. So they have done what we expect and what we predicted that they will do. But the reality on ground is that school has resumed. And lecturers who are committed to the university are teaching. They are doing their job. And then, of course, other members who are interested in doing same, we've noticed that the unions are trying to intimidate them. They are trying to hold them back. They're trying to push them with all kinds of blackmail and all kinds of campaigns of calumny. They are also trying to threaten them. And I heard some incident that happened in one of the faculties where they accosted a lecturer who came. They've asked all the lecturers not to enter the campus. Well, this is a typical thing you expect unions to do. But the good news is that all of this, they will fail. And in fact, they are failing already because the majority of academics are already committed to resuming. They've asked them to stay away. It's not a choice between staying at home and being hungry and not doing your job and being paid, and coming to work so that you do your job and get paid. That's where we stand now. So for the students, I want to encourage them, as many of them as are hearing this broadcast, to please come to Ambrose Ali University. We have resumed for good. The calendar is out. Lecturers are available to teach. And I want to use this message to advise my colleagues in AASU. You are prosecuting a national strike. I'm surprised that when salaries were paid, you started fighting for a local salary. The local salary is not a national salary. It's not a product of a national strike. It's a product of our desire to find a local solution, a rapprochement to the problem that we have locally. So my message to them is that, well, while you are pushing yourselves to remain on strike, please don't go near those colleagues who want to teach. You are first an academic staff before you become a union member. The fact that management controls academic staff cannot be negotiated. It's irrevocable. They only join unions because they want to be part of the union to protect their welfare. If they say, no, we want to fulfill the requirements of being lecturers by doing the job for which we are expected to be paid, I want to advise my colleagues in AASU not to go there at all. Don't threaten this staff, don't harass them. There are rules of engagement in this university, as in every other university all over the world. Where your freedom ends is where the freedom of another person starts. And I think we should respect all of that. Picketing, well, yes, but don't go and begin to threaten, don't begin to physically harass people who are teaching. That's the message I want to send to them.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. You have said a lot. But I want to address this in my next question to the DVC academics. It's related to academic activities. You said students should resume now, and we have heard some of the lecturers, not just the lecturer, the union, with saying that lecturer will not teach. Now, students are asking, what are the alternatives? Like, what if they come to school? Who are the lecturers to teach? Because we are seeing already, we only know of 2 lecturers that are currently lecturing in the person of Professor Sunday Edeko in Faculty of Law and Dr. Wonke from College, Department of Physiology. So students want to know, apart from these 2 lecturers, who are the lecturers that will lecture us if we come? That's the fear of students.
I think the acting Vice Chancellor has already addressed that. There are lecturers on ground to lecture. I'm just coming from the faculty, and a lecture is going on presently.
That's right.
In that faculty. And there's another faculty not far from there where the lecturers have also indicated their interest to lecture students once these students are available for them to lecture. So we have more than these 2 lecturers you have mentioned now who are willing and ready to continue with their lectures once the students are on ground. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So this question is also for you. We saw the bulletin, the academic calendar released, and we noticed something that in that calendar it said second semester examination will commence from the 4th of July, if I'm correct, sir. But we are aware that students were not really taught this semester. Most of them traveled for the trial, leaving their books. So their question is, we were not taught. What are we going to write in this exam that is
I wish I could answer that
starting
question
on the 4th? And secondly, is it this lecturer that would set this exam for us? Because they are really confused. So I don't know, you say you answer.
Yes, I would like to answer that. Part of the problem we have in this university is the problem of people who are paid to take on responsibility, not committing themselves to those responsibilities. I'm shocked to hear you say now that people have not been teaching, and that's part of the indiscipline and the reckless responsibility we are talking about. If a semester had extended for so long, you are hearing that some people still haven't taught. I don't want to believe that what you have just told me is correct, because don't forget we had just close to 2 weeks to the commencement of the exams. So I want to believe that you didn't have your facts very clearly in place there in terms of saying some of the lecturers didn't teach and all of that. But if indeed it is true that there are lecturers who haven't taught, those are the kind of people we are talking about who are probably also hiding behind AASU strike to frustrate the system, and we will not tolerate that act of reckless irresponsibility. Let me inform you that from the calendar that we have released, it's very clear that from Monday, 30th May, up to June 20th, we're going to be having, we call it lectures, but largely revision exercises that students can engage themselves in. Much of the syllabus has been taught by some lecturers. I remember I was teaching before my appointment as acting vice chancellor. I had virtually exhausted my own syllabus, was ready for the exam. And I believe 90% of all the academics in this university had reached that stage. So by June 20th, we're going to start the continuous assessment test, which we run across all the university. Everybody would be involved in that continuous assessment test. And of course, from 20th of June to 26th of June, CA will take place. And then I think for those who, you're talking about those who haven't been taught, well, I sympathize with those students, and I also want to know those students who have not been taught. At least the lecturers should be held accountable, because they have received salaries for those periods and they do not have any reason not to have taught. So I think this is how I will respond to that. Let them be rest assured that even in the absence of the lecturers at this point, where we are preparing for continuous assessment tests, the period spent teaching them, let them go through their notes, let them just get ready. We have the continuous assessment test coming up June 20th. And then by that time, I think we will also have maintained a lot of traction in teaching and revision. I always talk about Resumption being an airplane that is taking off from a runway. When it's taking off, it must glide through the runway, and it takes some speed at some point before it flies into the sky. So that's what we are experiencing here. More lecturers are coming into work in defiance of AASU, because that is the responsibility they have to perform. They owe that duty to their institution. It's not enough for people to sit at home and then begin to calculate the months that are accruing. Very soon you will hear our union will be telling you, oh, we are owed 6 months of salary, 29 months of checkoff. All these are the problems that cause them. You are saying you are on a national strike. We are saying be sensitive to the reality of your university. Be sensitive to the fact that we are going to lose a year. The students are suffering. Be sensitive to all of this and come back to work. Because it is only when you come to work that all the internally generated revenue that we have can be shored up to pay your next salary with the support from the government, which comes regularly. These are the things that we are telling them. You're sitting at home and counting the months and adding them up and waiting for government to come and pay them. I think it's a mark and act of reckless irresponsibility.
Okay, sir, without wasting much time, I want to ask this question concerning what the AASU chairman said when we interviewed him concerning, because before now, we heard that the management and AASU agreed that once 2 months are paid, they will resume. That was what we heard. Then we later found out that the management paid the 2 months, but AASU did not agree to call off the strike, did not resume. So while I was asking the AASU chairman concerning this issue, he told me that the management and AASU never agreed that if they are paid 2 months, they will resume. And he also said that even the 2 months that was paid, that most of their staff did not receive their own salary. I don't know if you want to say something.
Thank you very much. I'll address the second part. I think we had we have a process of what they call grievance redress mechanism, and we were quite clear when I did a very personal, as it were, letter to my colleagues on the payment of the salaries. We noticed that, well, some of them were not paid. That's true, but that's why I said some of them, but few, very few in number. So when you hear that they didn't get salary, you would think it's all of them. It's just few of them. The chairman himself got salary. He was paid December last time. He was paid January. He also received February. So there's just a small number of them that were not paid. And we made it very clear that if they have such situation, all they need to do is to address a small memo to the authorities and let people know that, yes, you were not paid, so that this can be escalated and put in your records. That's all we have told them. And it's a very simple directive. And I want to tell you that a number of people, the committee has met twice, and they have looked at that. The problem we have with our unions is that when something comes out, rather than go and seek further information, they sit back, listen to rumor, begin to speculate, begin to prevaricate, and then the next thing you are hearing is another challenge. I think this is not a way to go. A university should be based on rapprochement, should be based on dialogue, constant dialogue. When you have an issue you are not sure of, maybe the rumor mill carried it and you got to hear about it, you have a duty as an intellectual to confront the authority by questioning so that you'll be educated. That is that second part. For the other one that has to do with whether there was agreement over payment of 2 months' salary or no agreement, I think what the situation was that when we found that this strike was on at the national level, and we found the issues had to do with salaries and checkoff, which we met anyway, we had to begin to engage our members. I first pleaded that, well, we will soon get to this solution because we're making requests for intervention fund from government that will help us to solve that problem. Haven't done that. I also told them that when we have that money, or when we are sure we are going to get the money, we are going to engage them further to discuss how that money will be paid, and then, of course, seek their support for us to resume academic activities. That exactly was what we did. When we got wind that we're going to have that money, it is not true we told them we are going to pay them the next day. I never said that. Those who were there at the meeting can recall that what we said was that we are ready to discuss the issues of modalities of payment. And so as soon as we get that payment done, we hope our colleagues will go back to work. So thereafter, we made the payments. We paid the first tranche, and then a day later, we had an interval to work out the second tranche, and we paid the February, all of them gross. So at this point, we expected that having had that money, our colleagues would say, okay, let us discuss the possibility of going back to work. All we heard was that we have a national strike, the local issues have not been addressed. When they are addressed, when we finish the national, we'll come back. We even heard, most outrageously, that, oh, even if you pay all of them, we will still go on strike. We won't be back to school until March 2023. I think these are horrendous comments to come from responsible colleagues. Well, we hope that they didn't say that. We pray that they didn't say that. But we hope that they wouldn't say that. Because to say that is to completely be destructive of this university. And nobody, no management will have the university put under its care and allow it to go down. Nobody.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I have just 2 more questions. I think I'm supposed to address this question to the DVC academics. While I was discussing with the AASU chairman, he told me, he said that the lecture Professor Sunday Edeko is taking, the GST and the ENT, which students are aware, some students are participating, that is illegal, that courses are allocated to lecturers, that those courses were not allocated to him. So what he's doing is illegal. So I want you to let the students know if what Professor Sunday Edeko is teaching, the GST and the ENT, if it's illegal or if the management is backing him up. That's what the student wants to know.
Okay, thank you. How I wish the director of ENT or director of GSTs were to be here. They would have been able to confirm the lecturers or who the lecturers are that have been allocated those courses. It's not just one lecturer that teaches those courses. There are several lecturers for each of them. So, but I don't have that information, who the lecturers are that have been assigned to lecture whether GST or ENT. We know that the students are grouped into faculties and lecturers are assigned to them to do. But as to the lecturers assigned to take those courses, I don't have that information.
Let me also provide this information. GST courses are in modules, yes. And they are allocated to people. So the question of legality or illegality, I think it's not what you can begin to talk about here. It's completely pedestrian to talk about legality or illegality. Those modules that are provided can be taught by anybody, as long as that person follows the modules. The modules are there to enlighten the students. The question of legality will be if that person begins to administer that particular exam, and then maybe he's not assigned to him. But for now, for teaching, anybody can teach a module. And don't forget too that all these modules, the questions are already in the data bank, in the server. So if the students are engaged and they are taught, it's not the examiner that is going to begin to mark your course. The questions are already in the server. You see, what we just have as a problem is that people don't want to do their job and they want to frustrate every other person who wants to make sure this university works. And that will not succeed.
If I may add, I'm sure you have seen cases within Ekpoma Amrusali University where senior students organize tutorials for their junior colleagues. Will you say what they are doing is illegal? It's not illegal. They organize tutorials to help their younger ones. I'm a biochemistry professor. I can decide to gather students of biochemistry to take them any biochemistry course. It does not cancel the fact that the department has already assigned that course to somebody.
Exactly.
Apart from, except that I will not administer exam.
Exactly.
It was not, I was not officially made a course examiner for that course.
But that doesn't stop you from teaching it.
It does not stop me from teaching.
No, it doesn't.
So, what you are saying, what the professor is doing is not.
It's in order.
It's very much in order. As far as those modules are being treated the way they have been designed by the appropriate courses and the course heads and all of that. So at the end of the day, the student is enriched by the teaching. Anybody can teach GST. The modules are there, the textbooks are there, the templates are there.
Okay. So
just wanted to add this.
Okay.
If AASU mean well for this university, what business are they in dissuading students not to come? When this same then call is only a member, is teaching students. Exactly. What's their business? Their concern is just to ensure students do not resume, which is in total difference to the directive of the university management. That is, saying that they have alternative administration in the university is wrong, totally wrong.
So, thank you very much, sir. So, lastly, my question for you, the questions from your students is exam commencing? I've asked this question, but I want you to address them because this is very important. This is what they want to hear. Is exam really commencing from the 4th of July? And are we sure that this resumption, if they should come, that classes will go and they'll write their exam? That's what I want you to tell them. That's what they really want to hear.
Hear this from me, my very good, very resolute, very committed, and very responsible students. The management of this university is a responsible management. We have announced resumption. We have also released a calendar. I advise all of you to come down to the university. Lectures will commence if they haven't already commenced. Those ones that have already commenced have taken off. We have more lecturers who are ready to teach. And I encourage all of you to come and keep faith with the calendar that has been released. There is no alternative government in Ambrose Ali University. We have only one administration, vested with the power and backed by Senate to reopen the university. That management has so done, and it has prepared this environment ready for you. And I want to assure you of absolute security put in place to ensure you go about your work in an atmosphere of freedom and safety. That's all I can tell you. God bless you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, students. You have heard it from the mouth of the acting Vice Chancellor himself. He said school has resumed, that the academic activities commences immediately, that the academic calendar you have seen is true, and your exam is commencing from the 4th of July. So you have heard it from him himself, sir. I want to thank you very much for your time with us, sir. The acting Vice Chancellor of AASU University, Professor Sonny Adaboni. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And also the acting Deputy Vice Chancellor Admin, Professor Theophilus Aweda. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Then also the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Professor Masha Ezeke. Thank you very much, sir. And also the acting Registrar, Mr. Ambrose Odiasi. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time with us, and don't forget to hook up with us and follow us on our various social media handles at AAUE Online. Thank you, and remain successful.